conversations going on.
We're related.
We're making some great connections, but we're gonna get started. And so we're gonna open up with the Career Force relocation, county-led discussion. But before we go there, why don't we go around and do introductions?
Great.
So first, I'm, Rena Moran, Ramsey County Commissioner, District 4.
Mary Jo McGuire, Commissioner, District 2.
Nicole Fretham, Commissioner, District 1.
Mai Chong, Commissioner for District 6.
Trista Martinson, Commissioner, District 3.
Lynn Becker, Workforce Solutions Director.
Elisa Rasmussen, Ramsey County Workforce Board Chair.
Ryan O'Connor, County Manager.
Joanna Bird, Deputy County Manager. Me Chang, Chief Clerk. Keith Seelan, Aide to Commissioner McGuire. Dean Kruger, Director of Property Management.
Karen Francois, Deputy County Manager. Donna Yang, A2 Commissioner's Office.
Well, thank you, everyone. So, this morning, I want to do some quick introduction. We don't want to leave you out, Commissioner.
Introduce yourself. Just introduce yourself.
Okay. Victoria Reinhardt, Ramsey County Commissioner, District 7, which is Maplewood, White Bear Lake, and North St. Paul.
All right, thank you. So this morning, I will be leading this workshop to discuss with the county board a possible move of the Career Force location in St. Paul. I want to thank Elisa Rasmussen with Excel Energies, who is also the Workforce Innovation Board Chair, for joining us today to listen to feedback from all of you, and to discuss next steps. I want to thank Elisa for your leadership and the countless hours that you devote to the work of the board. So thank you. That work that you do, as well as our 33 board members, is critical to the economic vitality of Ramsey County. So to my colleagues, I want to take a moment to acknowledge the tremendous work of the Workforce Board and Director Lynn Becker, made up of the community and business leaders who devote over 750 hours annually to making Ramsey County a more inclusive economy. The amount of work that this board does is tremendous, and it has an incredible impact. So again, thank you, Elisa, for representing the board here today. So the purpose of today's meeting will be to provide an update on a possible move to the St. Paul Career Force location, to hear feedback from the county board, and to discuss next steps. And you will hear that again from Director Lynn. So to start our discussion, I want to make sure that you have some background. So I'm going to invite our own Director Lynn Becker, our Workforce Solution Director, to present a very short overview of the relocation, and then we'll pivot to hearing from the county board.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner Moran, County Manager, Board of Commissioners. Thank you for having us today. So let me get to the right slide here. So I want to preface this move as really an opportune moment because of all the things that have led up to it. Even prior to the pandemic, the county was doing significant work around aligning the resident-facing services that we're doing. And I appreciate Director Kruger being here from Property Management. Our Enterprise Services Director, Katrina Mosser, was going to be here, but she has a sick child. But we've been working in close coordination for a very long time around the service center. So you're going to hear a lot of these themes are not necessarily completely isolated around the Career Force location, but because of the role that we do now intersecting our services across multiple service areas, it just brings up even greater opportunities. I want to start with that. The other thing that Commissioner Moran kind of alluded to is that she's here to listen as same as Elisa this morning, because by federal law, the county board is not the one with the authority to move that Career Force location. It is the Workforce Board. The Workforce Board obviously is a joint venture between this county board and the City of St. Paul's City Council. You probably see appointments come through, and you're aware of the work as we come before you with some updates throughout the year. But it is that board of 33 members that by federal statute makes the final decision onto the location of that site. Every workforce development area, so Minnesota's split up into 16 of those areas. Ramsey County serves as one of those 16 entities. That's how formula funding comes through the state and the feds. When they call our name on needing to do something, that's kind of how they pull your number, if they need something. So we are one of those 16 areas, and our board has oversight over that local workforce development area. And so that is the true understanding of kind of the decision-making level. Now, the state has a policy on how the decision should be made, and they've outlined that to be data-driven, cost-effective, timely, and also making sure that we can get that site certified by the state agency around accessibility. So all those things are really important. So there's a lot of oversight layers on top of our decision and kind of the things that we're doing. So, but to just give you a very quick update, some of you may have been to this location, but every workforce area has to have one, what they call a comprehensive center, and that's what we're discussing today. The comprehensive center is located at the Griggs and Midway building, and why a comprehensive is important is by federal statute, there are a set of partners that are mandated to cooperate and align and coordinate services so that residents, you know, really a lot of it, like similar to the way we think about our services and the way we deliver things, but sort of by law, it's sort of saying you need to have an agreement and coordination in how you do things. In addition, there's cost sharing as a result of that. So every one of those mandated partners has to help fund and contribute to what we call is an infrastructure agreement. So there's two legal documents, an infrastructure agreement that helps to figure out the cost allocation, and an MOU that discusses the relationships and the coordination and alignment. It is opportune in that there's a lease expiring here in just over a year. So in January 2025, this is a 10-year lease that was actually held by deed in the space. And so obviously anytime there's a long-term lease that becomes up for expiration, it's a really good time to have conversations about, are we doing, you know, things as effectively and efficiently as we can. And so I think I'll go to the next slide. I think I covered it. And so these are the mandated partners. I would say we have hundreds of partners in Ramsey County that do work, and we've been doing a good job at building that connective tissue, as you know, as we, you know, showcase at NACO, and even, you know, using our Ramsey County Means Business dashboard and all the meetings and partnerships we have. But this is, you know, by law, they're sort of making sure that there's a strong connectivity for those areas, particularly that maybe don't prioritize partnerships, to sort of make sure that that's happening in communities, right? And so these are the mandated partners. And so I always describe our work as having two families. We have our Ramsey County family, which is all the departments we do partnerships with and align with, and we want to be more integrated and more connected because we're serving one resident. But we also have another family around employment and training and education, and those are community partners that we want to have a very deep integrated level of service delivery too, because you don't want to have to come to get workforce services and not be able to connect to the schools, or not connect to adult basic ed, or to voc rehab, for example. So so we have to kind of be with both families, and this is a really good opportunity for us to bring those families together and potentially have them all be co-located in one spot for us, which is would be really significant for our residents. So the pandemic definitely also was another factor in the work that we're kind of setting forth to do. The state actually had a very strict policy around in-person services during the pandemic. And we were the only career force or career lab locations open in the state for a very, very long time. And you know, I've been before you around digital equity, and you know how important that is for our residents. So this blend of like how much hybrid, how much virtual, how much in-person continues to be not only a challenge, but an opportunity for our community to really think about how we do that mix. And then you layer that on top of kind of our county service model and trying to think about how we serve our residents better, you know, and then the lease being expiring, it just really brought forth an opportunity to have a lot, these very, very significant conversations. And so with Commissioner Moran's support and with Elisa's support, we started down this path probably about a year ago. And obviously you all know about Metro Square, that the county owns that building, and we've been integrating more and more services there. We are currently in the process under Jean's leadership and Katrina's to really look at a Service Center 3.0 model there of more expanded services. Certainly seeing more coordination on the leadership level. I will say it's one spot that I feel really proud of around the work that the different departments, interdepartmental, inter-service team have really come together and work in close collaboration. And so we see residents coming there, and there's a high demand. I was just mentioning to Jean yesterday that, you know, I was there and there's lots of people waiting in the hallway. I mean, we're ready for you know, more process improvements on serving the residents, but also on a space consideration. We know people are coming. By co-locating, we also believe there's some resource savings. One really tangible example is security. We know, you know, obviously staff really care about that, residents care about that, but we're, you know, contributing to standalone security at a career force location when, you know, there could be security savings that come part of a larger building with multiple service lines and people contributing. We also are looking at our community partners around the metro area in particular. I would say in Anoka, Dakota, they already have a very similar model, though, you know, a little bit different in different ways. If we were, I took a trip to the Dakota County Service Center to look at that, and Hennepin's in the process of kind of moving toward a service center like this, with a career force location embedded in one of their suburban sites right now. And then to do this work, we really did, the WIB decided to go about it two ways. We knew, regardless of the relocation, we have to actually do a real discovery and some due diligence around the service delivery, the way I was talking about that split between virtual, hybrid, and in-person services. That has to be done regardless of where we're located. We have to constantly be pushing ourselves to deliver services. We also created a ad hoc committee, which Commissioner Moran and Elisa have been very involved with, to actually work on the relocation itself. And that was the group that went and did the tours and also have done a series of stakeholder meetings, which I'll tell you about in a minute. So we met, or at least I met with the leadership, including all three of the current deputy commissioners, and we had very strong support. So they hold that lease at the Griggs and Midway building, and they were very grateful as they're trying to, obviously as state agencies are trying to recalibrate a new model for service delivery too. Really saw us as forward thinking to bring this forward, and very engaged, and we're highly supportive. So as soon as we got that green light from them, we kind of decided to go a little bit further, you know, in terms of the other planning that we were doing. Within DEED, there's actually, you know, they're a complicated, large agency, funded very differently by all these programs. And so while you get the commissioner's blessings, you still have to work through all the programs because they all have very different service lines and actually requirements around how they deliver services too. So we met with both rehab, met with job service, which is the people that actually help kind of do that general service for the universal job seeker that needs help. That's people who help people who, with the trade assistance, which are programs for when a company's been shut down and moved overseas. We support people for, with increased services for those unemployed, and then with unemployment insurance too. And then we met with all the partners that I showed you all those logos. And we also met with St. Paul City Council member Russell Ballinger, because at the time he was the council member there. We'll make that new connection now, but we wanted him to add that to his transition list so that St. Paul didn't think that we were, you know, ever kind of, you know, talking about moving things out of districts, that we're not being cognizant of the stakeholders that are impacted. And then Commissioner Moran and I met with Representative Hussein, and he was very supportive as well. And then we also met with Keystone and some of the other kind of Goodwill, Easter Seals, Ujamaa Place. There's like just a lot of activity in that area. And that's another good reason why a move isn't maybe as impactful, I guess, in a negative way. There's a lot of other workforce agencies right there, and us building stronger connections with them to our service center, comprehensive downtown, really makes sense. So with all that said, I want to give you one more, probably two more quick slides here, and then we obviously Commissioner Moran will take it from here. But at the Career Force location, they have struggled with that reopening. Being a standalone center, having been closed for a very long time to in-person services, it's been a real struggle. And so they are probably seeing about 250, this is our centers, but first I'm going to reflect on the Career Force location. They're seeing about 250 to 300 residents per month there. Not large numbers. What we're seeing here at our service center, based on Q3 data, is about 200 some people a day. So you can see the difference. And I just checked our dashboard this morning, so we have an open data dashboard that tracks our service center tracking. We saw in December 4,408 people downtown. So you know, I've been very transparent that not everybody that comes to Service Center is going to go use the Career Force location. But we know those are folks that are coming in need of, financial support, housing, food. So the more proximity we have with those residents, the more likely types of outreach and support that we can give them. And we know that over half of, you know, parents in St. Paul Public Schools, for example, is a good example I like to use, are single-parent homes. We know that that was one of the reasons we were accelerating this sort of inter-department service delivery, is people can't run around and chase county buildings for services, right? And so it's really important that when we have an opportunity to make a decision to align, it's not always going to be perfect, but it seems to play itself out. And I will say the one message I will say from the partners, they were very excited about the move because they wanted to, you know, you see, I can go back to that slide, but they were like, we can have a presence in the service, like near the service center where we can talk about adult basic ed, voc rehab, you know, services for the blind, like these things closer to residents. We would be thrilled to be able to do that, you know. And so I think that was some energy and excitement out in the community for this move. So, so before I turn it back over, I just want to give you a timeline. You know, I kind of recapped the first things that we did. We're here in the yellow, under the January 2024, we're having this discussion with you all. Because of the tight timeline with the lease expiring by law, we obviously cannot not have a Career Force location open. And so, Gina and I have been, you know, working really hard. And so as soon as the board, we hear from you all, any feedback, and if the Workforce Board would approve at their February 1 meeting, we would go ahead and start, you know, moving fairly quickly in order to ensure that, maybe December, we're inviting you out to a ribbon cutting there, to open the new Career Force location in Metro Square. So with that, I'll take any questions. I know Lisa's here to listen and take questions as well, but Commissioner Moran, I'll turn that back over.
Well, thank you so much, Director, for such a comprehensive, PowerPoint and discussion. And I want us to know this is a conversation, right? And ask as many questions as you want, as you need to, and, you know, just keep in mind, as Director Becker indicated, that this final decision is up to the WIG board to make, you know, but we do not want to make that decision without you answering your questions, being more informed, and of course, we want your buy-in, right? Because we think it's a great opportunity for our residents here in Ramsey County. You know, a good friend of mine said, well, he's not that good of a friend, but a friend of mine.
There's a t-shirt there.
Not that good a friend.
But what he did say was that, you know, and one of the reasons that I like this idea is that, you know, we have a service center where people are coming to get support for the county. And that's our role, is to help make people's lives better. But he's also, you know, and what he did say is that the best social service program is a job. Yeah. And if we can have people walk out asking for support and walk over to see if there's a job available or a training or something that can help make their lives better, we want to have it in that location. So I think it's a great opportunity for us and for the residents in Ramsey County, because I am a true believer that people want to make their lives better. They want to do that, right, and not have to depend on the county or other social services. But when they do, we deliver. So it is very important that we have a good discussion. I am so happy to have our chair here again. And I want you to share your wisdom and your insight into some of the work that you have been a part in and participated in. The visit to Dakota County was a great visit to see how all of that is in one location, and the work and the value that they put in to having residents show up in a space that is warm and welcoming, that we all was able to feel and see when we did that visit. So with that, Commissioner Reinhardt.
Well, I think that this is very exciting and something that is very needed because, as you say, Commissioner Moran, having not just assistance available to get you through a tough time, but also an opportunity. And I agree with you that most people want to have that independence, that they don't want to have to rely on others. So I think it's a great idea. It's one of the reasons that I like, for the Maplewood Library. Again, I mean, that's a different setting, but when people are coming in there, to be able to have access to that information and really help them, choose what they want to do, or, you know, what the opportunities are again. So, the final thing I'll say is that, I was there when we opened up the Griggs building thing. And it was a big deal because it was something that was relatively new as far as the workforce centers and the partnerships with the state especially. But, I mean, even at that time, it was like, I know that downtown is not easy to park, but that area was not something that you'd just be walking by. I mean, you had to be going there and then trying to find a place to park, which was not easy. And so, I mean, it was utilized a lot, but I think it will be so much more utilized at Metro Square. So I'm excited about this. I do think that, you know, there are other ways. It shouldn't all be just in one spot, because, and that's never been the way you've approached this, or Ramsey County has approached it. So I think it's a good complement to what we're doing in the suburbs as well. I guess my question would be, I'd like to hear from you as far as the board. Is there any opposition? Have you heard anything that we should be aware of, that we could help with if there is a problem?
Thank you, Commissioner. I am not aware of any concerns at this point. We will, we have presented, but we also wanted to engage all the partners. I think one of the things that I've been incredibly impressed with is you saw the list of everyone that we've connected with. This being not necessarily the final step, but ensuring that it is supported, because this is for residents, and at the end of the day, we have to hear from them as we to ask those questions. And the board, I don't see any challenges, but you never know. There's a couple things that have been brought up. One of them being the parking, so the accessibility, and we will work on that. The second is potentially young people, so service to a daycare facility. What could that look like? And it may not necessarily be, because Dakota County has a daycare facility on site. I can't remember. The YMCA to provide that, which is fantastic. But if there's a safe space where kids can be next to a guardian, that's something that we're looking at too. So those are kind of the two things that came up in the discussion over the past year. Forgive me if I'm forgetting something.
No, I think the childcare was something that was been brought up, and I think that's not just a possible discussion with the career force location. I think that's an overall, you know, kind of our whole service center leadership team having in a good way. And I think there's been some community engagement where it was exactly what Elisa was saying. It wasn't necessarily like, I want to drop my kid off, but I want a more friendly place that I could do the things I need to do while I have my child in proximity, which is an important distinction for families, to be close to their children and not necessarily like, I want to not talk to you, you know, I want to go do something for 2 hours. Like, that wasn't, at least that feedback was one set of feedback I had heard, which was added a new part to the equation to think about.
Commissioner McGuire, and then Chair.
Thanks. Thank you for this. This is exciting. Can you just remind me, this is our current one hub, and I have been to the Briggs Midway, and it's impressive. So the numbers that you showed for the Metro Square, those are people that went there for workforce?
Those are people that are going to the service center.
They're going to the service center just for anything?
For navigators.
Okay, so they're going there for anything. So we just get a lot more people going for any kind of services. Okay. I was wondering if they were going there for workforce questions. Okay, so they're going there for anything. So we're getting good traffic there. And people aren't having parking or transportation issues. They're figuring it all out at Metro Square. That's good. So, remind me, and we have service, centers now in some of our libraries and things. So they'll still do some workforce thing. I mean, we'll still have that model where you can get some of that. This is just the state-required hub where we're gonna have it in one place with all these partners sort of there. And obviously, there's room at Metro Square for this. How are we doing on Metro Square room? Is there a lot of, Gene, I don't know.
Okay, no, I got you.
Okay.
Madam Chair, Commissioner McGuire, there's, I mean, you approved a deed lease for one more month this morning at
Yeah.
at 200% of their previous rent, because they needed one more month, and they're on a timeline now, so, but they'll be out soon. There's continued work over the next few months. There's some moves going on as we continue to renovate floors, but like, it's moving along very well. Gene and her team are doing a great job on that site. It's worth walking through if you haven't been there in a while,
No, it's
to
good.
see how much it's
Yeah.
changed.
Okay.
At some point, I think there's a theoretical conversation around space that may or may not come up, but I think our creativity could determine that over time too. I mean, as our organization has shifted, like, it's working well. The service center itself has some level of space constraint potential challenges, but we've been looking over at the IS suite, which sits next to it. There's potentials to expand that direction. There's, really good work happening there through the Residents First team and with Deputy County Manager Francois and her group. So I think that part makes sense. I was gonna also say, on the parking side, we do provide like vouchers into ramps in a way that we used to not. Behaviorally, that takes time for people to learn, but that's happening. And as a transit site, you know, like, I mean, downtown is more transit accessible today than it's been in, I don't know, 50 years probably. I don't think that's an exaggeration. And with the opening of the Gold Line, it's about to become more, and then the opening of the B Line, it's about to become more. I mean, this is a good time to be betting on that location from an accessibility standpoint, and then asking, how do we balance that with some of these, I'll call it satellite node service delivery models through the county?
So, Madam Chair, if I could just do one more. So thank you, that's helpful. So, you know, years and years ago, probably Victoria and I think Commissioner Reinhardt, we may be the only two that was here for the strategic planning, the facility strategic planning workshop.
Strategic facilities.
Thank you. I love it, the strategic facilities. I know, there we are. I'm just remembering the strategic facilities. So we had these big conversations, which were great, you know, about let's have a central spot, probably like Dakota County does and everything. And I think we're doing some hybrid of that with our Metro Square. I mean, it's not totally everything all in there, but, and I don't know that we really want that, because I like having service, centers out where other people can access them as well. So just remind me, we're just not gonna go there with another big center. I mean, Metro Square is the spot where we're gonna put whatever we need, and we have enough room there to put whatever else, or what's the status of our strategic facilities plan?
Madam Chair, Commissioner McGuire, so I would not define it as we're not going there. I would define it that the world has changed and we're
Yes,
going to a better place.
Yes, no, right.
I used to think we
Thank
needed
you.
to build
Yeah.
another 1,000 spaces for
Right.
employees than we now need.
Right. I
And
agree.
so, from what the taxpayer benefits, that's not insignificant.
Yeah.
I mean, we were looking at price tags of
Right. I
50
agree.
to 100
Yeah.
million dollars that we're cost avoiding in many ways. But it's not all a cost exercise either. So, at the end of the day, the spots to think about service center delivery in Ramsey County, I would have 5 ways you should think about it. 3 physical sites that are the same all the time. It's 2 libraries, so it's Roseville and Maplewood. And it's 1 library and formerly a library that's now at the mall. Yep, the whole audience is being like, come on, catch up. Sorry. Roseville Library, it's Maplewood Mall, near the Maplewood Library.
Near the library in Maplewood.
I'm there. And then the Metro Square Downtown Service Center. But aligned with that, there's also the mobile service center agreements we've been forming with community groups across the community. And that's a really important piece to continue to say, we will come to you on some level of expectable regular times during the month. And by the way, this all integrates workforce into it, which is key to today.
So that's good.
And then the 5th is this idea still of what is a virtual service center for the county going to look like, as we talk about both becoming as accessible as possible virtually, realizing that, I'll just highlight it again. I mean, Director Becker highlighted today, because of how long our deed site shut down, people's behaviors changed and no one started going back. And because we were open almost the whole way, we avoided, thankfully, where, like, the question of where would people have gone is a really scary one to be confronting. But we do need to also then say, how do you keep becoming more virtual? Because over time, that'll become a bigger and bigger part of what we do.
Yeah, thank you for that, I appreciate it, Madam Chair, just sort of historically and where we're headed with these.
Good questions,
Thank
all
you.
good questions.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank
Madam
you,
Chair.
Commissioner Moran. I just wanted to, first of all, just say thank you to the
Yes.
WIB board and the constant flexibility and responsiveness to community. I think these questions, it has highlighted how the world has changed pretty rapidly, in a short time, and that we've been paying attention to how do we be responsive to community. I love this idea. I think it's great. I don't worry about the parking and stuff because it is a transit hub, and you know, all of the areas along University Avenue can get down there in 10 minutes. And we need more people on the rail to make it safer, and so it's a win-win-win all the way around.
Working on it.
Yeah.
We're doing this right now.
Yeah. But, you know, we're just planting
We're
seeds
just
for our future garden.
lobbying already, yeah.
And so as we think about what that all looks like, this is really exciting. Also, bringing these additional resources to one space will help us pay for and improve Metro State, because our partners are gonna want amenities and things that look different, and the childcare and the, you know, climbing space, whatever it is, in adjacent to parents doing work. I mean, to me, this is a win-win-win, so I fully support this idea. I love it, and would ask you to share that with the WIB when we go back to your meeting, that we are so appreciative, and that we're supportive of this transition and move, and about the future of our workforce. And the creativity. The WIB board is very creative, and Director Becker, I know, fuels that creativity, but as long as we all go along with what she's creating, we will all win.
Like 3M says, I'll do anything, we'll do anything, Lingbecker tells me.
That's right.
They need it too. Commissioner Jones.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a question. Has there been a data or like, are you finding out where the folks who currently use the, Career Force Center, like where they were coming from?
Yeah, most of them come kind of within this downtown area, so we definitely know that they're within that transit access. You know, where when we had closed, Commissioner Zhang, this preceded you, but we closed a kind of affiliate site in North St. Paul, and when we were able to map those folks, we realized that their proximity was definitely within, you know, a very reasonable distance to the Maplewood Library. And so those kind of all things, sort of looking at that resident data, has been really helpful to see that we just want to be in those areas, but definitely looking at areas of concentrated poverty. I mean, we've been looking at up in Mountain View and up in different parts, you know, how to use the libraries a little bit more to do, you know, more regular services in pockets of poverty throughout Ramsey County, for sure. And we're in several of the St. Paul libraries, too, in the way that we do work in partnership with them as well, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then just to follow up, what about like, has it been done, like a mapping around unemployment about where?
The unemployment, mapping we have done traditionally, it tends to be over in the Midway area in Frogtown and North End. You know, it is the core of it's not a unique layer, I guess, in a lot of ways, of the disparities that exist in our community. Topics, you'd see that if we layered the home ownership, you'd see it if we layer into digital equity. So it's those are key areas that the county, not just workforce services, needs to be more intentional to make sure there's accessibility. I mean, I get what you're saying, because I think when I pulled out, I mean, that was a big deck from 2019 when I found it, but I only pulled out one slide because the slide that I cared about really was focused on these overlapping residents, right? I was thinking about the person, and really the conclusion there was that we have folks that experience disability, experience homelessness more than 12 months, households with children under 18, identify as Native American or Black, African Americans, living in poverty, mental health concerns, not speaking English, unemployed, and those were the overlapping residents we wanted to make sure we were streamlining services. And so I think that's still the case post-pandemic, if not even a greater need. So I don't think that work actually needs to be reset in a way. It's just been accelerated, and we've been doing it without really maybe fully saying, like, that's what we were just doing to respond to the pandemic in a lot of ways, but this is going back to those original things that the board that was here at the time were very committed to, you know, and there's a lot of work done there.
Madam Chair, if I could add one thing to that too. I mean, Director Becker has multiple times, so as we talk about the move into Metro, as you moved into Metro with your team, you made references to being in closer proximity to, for example, Director Lattimore's team and the housing stability stuff, like right away in ways in which there just was never a chance for easy connection, right? You had to like work at it through email, phone call, set something up, find a time, and now you're within the same hallway. And I do think there's a fundamental cultural shift to that with the county as we get through next year and you're fully in at Metro. That is, I mean, there's a lot of opportunity there, and there's a lot more opportunity to go further. And to have a service center that's integrated in the same building with where many staff work, for people who have spent time working, there are a lot of things about the East Building that are challenging, to put it mildly, right, as a site to work in. It just wasn't a great building here the last number of years. But it also does remind you of who we serve every day and what the challenges are that are a part of our community in a way that people who often work in solely office spaces can just understandably disconnect from. And that's an important thing for us to think about in our move forward, and it's a really good reason why the service center being here. It adds to your point about the overlapping challenges people face.
Yeah, I mean, we did 3 moves throughout the pandemic as a department, and then certainly I will not be the first one to raise our hand to move again. However, it would be very difficult to convince me to move, because what a gift it is every day to walk down that hallway and, you know, every time to see residents. Like, I wish every county employee could get a chance to do that, because, you know, it is, it's really a gift to see look them in the eye, give them some dignity, say good morning, say hello, instead of, you know, kind of just walk by, right? And so the departments that get to be there, it's actually a privilege. It really is, because it keeps you grounded in the work from, you know, the paper pushing and the contract signing and all of that very important stuff. But it is really, it's what it's all about, you know, and you see the people, no one comes alone in that building. They either come with a translator, they come on a wheelchair, they come with a whole flock of young, beautiful children, you know, all, you know, dressed in their unique cultural, you know, attire. I mean, it's just, it's truly a gift, you know, and you can't be that far away from it to understand it. So, so thank you for the privilege for our department to be there. But I also see the need and the pain that they come when they wait in line and are, you know, holding their paper and have the wrong, you know, just yesterday, the guy was like, I have the wrong paper. I'm like, I'm so sorry. You know what I mean? And that is really hard when you get all that way there and you don't have the right thing. But then wouldn't it be nice? It was like, well, you can go down the hall and hopefully they can get the right paper so you can come back. You know? Instead of, you have to go to, you know, 4 blocks down to get the right paper before you can come back.
Wow.
It's really a gift.
So I just want to say, I really like this concept, because the pandemic has put it in a place where we isolated ourselves, right? And we was working virtually, and having that human connection, that these are real people whose lives are very difficult, who are in need, and they're coming to us for a reason and a purpose. And often they're not happy and joyful about why they need to ask for support. And so being people-centered, I think, is a reminder of this work and why we do this work and who we are as a county. So I really appreciate that recognition and validation of the work and the privilege it is to serve, right? But you know, looking at the numbers and why it's so important between Maplewood and Roseville and Metro Square, there's a stark difference in who's showing up. So I want to just plant a little bitty seed here for us, because I think, you know, looking at partnership, because I don't have a county library in my district, but the needs of my community is vast, right? And so to have a local library like the Rondo Library, who is working in partnership with the city to create a space where, you know, yes, you know, the light rail is right there, but we can't take for granted that people have money, you know, or do all the issues that they're dealing with, that they want to get on a train or a bus and travel downtown. They might just want to walk and not have any encounters with anyone. And what an awesome opportunity it would be for them to go right there in their community, or walk from Rice Street to Dale University, or whatever they may be coming from to get the services. I just want to put that out there into the environment, right, and release that. I probably said that so many times, but I wanted to release that again, because I think it's really important that we see the needs in the people and trying to find ways to accommodate people locally where they are.
The reason that there's not a county library in the city of St. Paul is because they have their own library system. We can't put a county library in the city of St. Paul.
Yeah, that's their.
Just like they can't put a city of St. Paul library in the suburbs.
I'm just asking for a partnership. I'm not asking,
Oh, yeah.
I know we can't change it, I'm not trying to change it. But what I am trying to do in putting out into the universe is like a partnership. And a need to see how can county and city partner to make the people's lives better, right? So that's all I'm saying.
No, and when it comes to libraries, the MELSA board that I talked about this morning, Ramsey County and St. Paul are, totally in lockstep there. I mean, we tried to, that partnership, honestly, between the library directors is there. There is no doubt.
Yeah.
So maybe I can get more information for you on that.
That'd be,
Because Minneapolis merged into Hennepin County.
Yep.
And we've looked at that here.
yeah.
But it didn't save anything, and there's such, I mean, honestly, the rich history of St. Paul and the Friends of the St. Paul Library, the Friends of the Ramsey County Library are pretty new. I mean, we didn't have it up until 10 years ago or something like that. I mean, and it's grown, and it's maybe a little bit longer than that. But we really started that because St. Paul had such support because of their friends, and we're like, well, we should be able to do something. and it's actually, we learned from St. Paul.
Yeah.
To be able to provide some additional things. We still have growing pains there, obviously, but.
Well, yeah, you know,
but-
that comes with the territory.
Oh, yeah.
One thing I do know and continue to learn is that the great partnerships that is happening between Ramsey County and St. Paul.
Yeah.
Right, and I believe that we're not short of continuing to grow and strengthen what those relationships can continue to be into the future. Yeah, so any help or what would be so appreciated, as we think about how we operate into the future.
Well, and, Madam Chair, it may be that we want to, if you're interested anyhow, I know that, our interim, or whatever title Pang has. I know it's not interim, but it's, as far as who's serving right now in the role of, library director, and the library director from St. Paul, who is really great. We could have a meeting and sit down and talk about that, because I think it would be really helpful. It was helpful for me.
Madam Chair, so there's been a meeting with the library directors, and I know that, our conversation to move further here, and so Katrina, who couldn't be here today, obviously, we heard earlier because of the kid, is gonna be following up too with the libraries in St. Paul around talking about navigator services, and then we already have some partnerships, like in the workforce,
We already do it.
specifically at, is it Rondo and in Arlington Heights?
It's Sunray, so we have two models, right? We have either, where we obviously don't have the staff or the room to necessarily have regular career labs there, but we train their staff to be able to be a mile wide, inch deep in workforce services. That's a really good model, actually. And then our staff who have cases, like on MFIP, for example, they can actually set up appointments to meet at the library. The library has a relationship with them. Bring those, like, meetings closer to the families and where they live.
Great model. I mean,
So-
just for examples, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't always have to be, you know.
Yeah.
Right.
Thank you
And
for
there's more to keep doing.
Yeah, thank you for that. Any other questions?
Can I go back to one
Yeah.
question? I didn't catch exactly what you meant earlier on what Hennepin is doing right now. I'm just curious about what the largest county next to us is doing. So you said can you repeat what you said?
Yeah, they actually are building out, I don't know if it's fully opened or where their status of their Brooklyn Park Service Center is, but I know they're in negotiations with Deed right now to co-locate their career force location inside that center.
And they're only suburban, is that correct? Because Minneapolis, okay,
Right,
thank
so,
you.
yeah,
That
so
helps.
the city of Minneapolis, so when I said the 16 workforce development areas, we're structured a little differently. Hennepin County covers suburban Hennepin County, their workforce development area, and then there's, technically we do the work of two, and they have multiple, they have two reports doing that work, but so the alignment's a little different, right? So the North Minneapolis Career Force location, for example, is run by the City of Minneapolis Workforce Board, not the Hennepin County. That helps, right? Okay.
All great information. I just love this information and gathering moment. And so, if there's no other question, I just want to end by saying, Elisa and I, who co-chair the WEB Relocation Committee, which will be making a final recommendation to the full WEB at its February meeting.
Wow.
Right. So I want to say thank you to the board, for your, questions, your support, enthusiasm that I'm feeling here to move forward. And with that.
Madam Chair, you had Commissioner Ortega on, but not able to participate, so he texted me and gave a thumbs up as well.
Thank you,
cute.
Commissioner Ortega.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you, yeah.
So with that, I think we are adjourned. Thank you.
Good work.
Hi, Jill and Victoria, we're gonna move to audio.